Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first intercollegiate English speech contest for the IIBC Cup. We hope all of you here at赤坂Intercity Conference Center and everyone watching the stream live on the internet will enjoy today's contest. This contest is hosted by IIBC, the Institute for International Business Communication, and is supported by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, the Embassy of the United States of America, and the America-Japan Society. We would also like to thank赤坂Intercity AIR, the owner of this venue, for their courtesy in supporting this event. Today, we're welcoming 10 top-tier speakers from various speech contests held within the year 2022. This event aims to provide the arena for those great speakers to compete once again for the IIBC Cup, as well as to showcase the best speeches from the past year as great examples for future speakers. Now, I would like to introduce today's judges and questioner. Let me start with the questioner for this contest, Dr. Shoko Sasayama. Dr. Sasayama is currently working as an associate professor at Waseda University, where she teaches applied linguistics courses and manages the college-wide English language program. Prior to joining Waseda, she worked as a researcher at ETS in Princeton and as a professor at the University of Tokyo. Her research focuses on second language acquisition, language pedagogy, and assessment. Also, we have 3 judges today. Firstly, Mr. Dwayne Confer. Mr. Confer has taught courses on research and rhetoric in the high school at the American School in Japan since arriving in Tokyo with his family in 2016. He previously taught in American and international schools in Dubai, UAE, and Athens, Greece. In addition to his classroom experience, he has coached and judged high school debate teams in Greece and now at the American School in Japan. Next, Mr. Tom Whitson. Mr. Whitson is a longtime Japan resident and a member of the America-Japan Society. He's from Illinois, where he graduated from the University of Illinois. Although he's a career accountant, he's been deeply involved in education. He currently chairs the Japan Market Expansion Competition, which is a unique business training program focusing on business planning skills. He's interested in public speaking and won the Prime Minister's Cup, which is the 3rd place in a Korean language speech contest sponsored by the Korea Times. Lastly, Mr. Keizo Ohashi. Mr. Ohashi joined IIBC in July 2020 as president. Prior to that, he worked in the financial services industry for more than 40 years. As a seasoned commercial banker and investment banker, he worked in most major international financial cities, for example, New York, London, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. He visited nearly 50 countries on business. He holds a Bachelor of Law degree from the University of Tokyo and a Master of Law degree from University of Michigan Law School. Also, Dr. Stephen Cutler and Mr. Soichiro Nagai were the judges for the preliminary stage of this contest. Dr. Cutler is a trainer, course developer, researcher, and consultant working in the area of English as a foreign language and business communication. He's currently based in the UK, but has lived and worked in Japan for a long time. Mr. Nagai is General Manager of the Institutional Program Division at IIBC, where he's responsible for promoting TOEIC program to corporations and schools. During his university days, he was an avid member of his school's English-speaking society. Next, let me explain the rules of this contest. all speakers will have 8 minutes to deliver their speeches. Timekeepers will let you know the time by showing cards and ringing a bell. There are several cards with the numbers 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1/2, 1/4, and 0. The cards count down from 7 to 0 and give the speakers the indication of the minutes left. For example, while the timekeeper is showing this card, with the number 3, it means the speaker has at least 3 whole minutes, but less than 4 minutes left. Also, when 7.5 minutes have passed, which means the speaker has 30 seconds left, the bell will ring once like this. And when 8 minutes have passed, the bell will ring twice like this. At the ring of the second bell, the speaker has to stop speaking. Otherwise, 1 rank will be reduced in the judging process as an overtime penalty. After each speech, there will be a 4-minute question and answer session. The timekeeper will let you know the time with the cards in this session as well, but speakers can finish answering the last question even if they run out of time during the last question or answer. The first, second, and third prize winners will be awarded a trophy and a certificate. Also, the first prize winner will be the first recipient of the IIBC Cup and will receive a personal computer as a special gift. Lastly, today's timekeepers are Mika Higashi, to my opposite, and Osamu Kakita, to my right. Both are from IIBC. And I'm Chihiro Sanpei, the Master of Ceremony of this contest. I'm also from IIBC. Now, it is time for us to welcome the first speaker. Midori Hayashi from Keio University will deliver the speech under the title of Despair or Hope. Despair or Hope. Midori Hayashi, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony and honorable judges. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever thought about Japan in 30 years? In 30 years, we university students will be in our 50s. Our turn to support the Japanese economy will arrive very soon. I first became interested in the future of this country when I was 7 years old, when a professor, a friend of my mother, visited my home and advised me to study English hard to be able to choose to work abroad when I grow up. He said the Japanese economy would inevitably collapse at some day, so get prepared to disembark from this Titanic. Since then, I have studied hard. But someday, I started to ask myself, is this what I want? If I learn English and go abroad to live there, then is it all right even if Japan, my home country, will end in default? Since then, I have been thinking about it. At university, I met my friends who have experience living abroad and who plan to work abroad when they grow up. If such global young students leave Japan, who would take care of the seniors? I made up my mind to find out what I can do for my country, rather than to take alternative options. Recently, as part of my field study, I worked on what Japan would be like in the future. Japan in 30 years will be far different from the scenery we see today. The population will have decreased from 125 million to 100 million, and 38% will be seniors. Our economic power is expected to be number 7, down from our current position as number 3 in the world. Even today, Japan is facing a fiscal crisis due to the aging society. We need to take action now. Increased social security costs due to the growing elderly population and a shortage of labor are considered to be the causes of Japan being in danger of financial collapse. The annual increase in the number of elderly people has led to an increase in pension and healthcare costs. For example, of the 35 trillion yen in social security costs in 2020, 24 trillion was paid in pensions and medical costs in total. It is also clear as daylight that in 30 years' time, with 38% of the population being elderly, there will be a shortage of the working population to support the elderly, and an increase in the national debts is inevitable. Currently, Japan's debts reach 2.6 times as much as the annual income, and are still increasing. Moreover, in 2020, the Japanese government decided to pay a subsidy of 100,000 yen, or $681, for every citizen in Japan, including wealthy people, babies, and children as a grant after COVID-19. The total amount of this subsidy was 12.8 trillion yen, which was more than 4 times compared to other developed countries. Debate whether the subsidy was needed or well targeted for those in need was not held enough. Another financial need arose after the conflict between Russia and Ukraine broke out in February 2022. The global security environment changed dramatically, also in the Far East region. Due to China's rise and North Korea's provocations, the need to increase the defense budget in Japan is now on full display. The Japanese government is aiming to double its defense budget within 5 years. Putting all things together, Japan's debts keep increasing, and the tragedy of the nation's default is becoming realistic. So, since when has this country become a country in which we cannot envision of the future? I cannot imagine exactly what the country's default means to our everyday life, but my mind strongly tells me that we have to do everything we can to avoid a total collapse of Japanese society. We need to take action now. Senior people, those of my grandparents' generation, please accept a tax increase. The increase in seniors has come to the stage which the working population cannot support. Certainly, consumption tax will hit senior people who are retired from work and have no revenue. Nevertheless, seniors own 70% of Japan's wealth. Consumption tax hiked to 10% is not enough to avoid bankruptcy for Japan. A sensible consideration of seniors would be great gifts for the younger generation. For those of my parents' generation, I hope you will rise to the challenge to accept any changes necessary to avoid a future crisis. Doctors, please accept price cuts for medical services and medicine. According to media reports, structural reforms are being pushed, but medical lobbies oppose most of these. This does not help the country. Please consider public interest before individual interest in this critical time. For my friends, let's start to think about the future of this country. We have no time to waste. We first need to study and gain knowledge of how tragic the situation is in Japan right now. We have been living with that awareness that Japan is facing a fiscal crisis. However, we have to prepare ourselves in order to be able to support the future of Japan. Getting ready to vote in elections based on your own beliefs and thoughts is essential. Now, 18-year-olds can vote, and even young people can change the country. Edmund Burke, a British 18th century political philosopher, says, "A nation is a partnership between those who live, those who passed away, and those who receive life from now. We are in the same nation called Future of Japan. Our grandparents, parents, us, and our children take action to take our proud Japan into the future. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Midori Hayashi. Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayomo, please.
All right. Thank you, Midori, for your thought-provoking speech. I've got a few questions for you.
Yes.
So first, can you give us some concrete examples of what your generation could do to save the future of Japan?
Well, I think that because I noticed that from when I was in university that not most of my friends noticed that Japan is actually facing a fiscal crisis. I believe that one of the options is like to participate in speech contests like today, to express their own opinions about what you think is important, because the education in Japan does not focus mainly on expressing your own opinions or ideas or thoughts, and we only have the education in Japan focuses more on passive learning rather than proactive learning, and I believe that expressing your own ideas from now on is extremely important, because our generation will be the ones who will support the future, and our long-term view is extremely important from now on, and if we don't express our own opinions, then we have to bear a huge burden. And I think that in order to prevent this from this situation, to prevent the situation from happening, I believe that to express your own opinions is important. So.
Okay, thank you. So let's see. What challenges do you anticipate in convincing everyone that it's okay to raise taxes? What do you think Japan could do to mitigate the situation?
Do you mean like how to convince other people in order to raise taxes?
Right. So that was one of your ideas, right? So what challenges do you anticipate, and what kind of solutions could you think about?
Well, I think that because most of the especially the senior people, have experienced the World War II, I think that to save money is one of the, thoughts to save money for the children in order to not get in hunger or in order to survive. But I think that in the future, I think it doesn't change if the situation continues. And I believe that when concerning about the future generations, I think that if the senior generations has experienced that worst situation from the World War II, I think that in order to not let their children or their grandchildren from suffering the same situation, I believe that especially our generation, needs to convince that if the seniors cannot raise taxes, we cannot even survive more, or less, we can't support the senior generation. So I think that that's one of the solutions.
Okay, thank you. So as you mentioned in your speech, declining birth rate is a big problem, yes. And the government, is trying to deal with that issue. So what do you think individuals can do to mitigate the situation?
Individual, I mean one person.
So individual, so not the government, not the society per se, or you could also talk about it. What do you think? Okay, so let's say declining birth rate, it's a big problem.
Mm-hmm, yes.
What can we do, government, us, individuals, anybody, what can we do to solve that problem?
Well, I think that if it's for the government, I think that because the birth rate is declining, I believe that opening the country for immigrants is one of the solutions, because Japan currently is not opening the country for immigrants, and if we don't open the country for immigrants, I think that the future of Japan is not, sustainable. I think Japan will collapse. And when looking at the cases in UK or US. I think that because the country is opening, for immigrants, and the country's motivation is high, and because Japan only has Japanese currently, the motivation to improve this current situation is currently, I think, low. The motivation is low. So I think that if we have a rival or compete partner, I think that maybe Japanese people would feel like, oh, we need to improve this current situation, or we have to do something. So I think that's one of the solutions that the government can do. And I think that for an individual, I think that because especially because women is currently a focus more in society, advancement in society, I think that improving the working conditions for women is extremely important, because if women cannot work comfortably, they will not think that, oh, maybe I want to born a child. I think that this kind of idea won't happen. So I think for individual, I think that selecting a company that mainly focuses on women's condition, being able to work comfortably, is important.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama and Midori Hayashi. Thank you very much. Next, let me introduce the second speaker. Risa Yamada from Waseda University will deliver the speech under the title of Inhale Confidence, Exhale Doubt. Inhale Confidence, Exhale Doubt. Risa Yamada, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, distinguished judges, questioners, hello, friends. Throb, throb, throb. A girl standing in front of 40 classmates gives a short English speech with a blushing face and trembling voice, with her heart pounding. On such a day, tremendous depression is felt, from waking up in the morning until just before the moment of the competition. This is me as a first-year student of junior high school, when I lacked self-confidence and had a strong fear of failure. I was quite uncomfortable with public speaking in general, of course in English, which I was not used to. However, I am not like that anymore, as you can see. Now, guess what kind of miracles happened to me? You have probably heard many times that Japanese people have low self-esteem and lack self-confidence compared to foreigners. According to a survey done by Cabinet Office in 2018, when people were asked, "Are you satisfied with yourself?" 80% of people responded with a yes in Western countries, while it was as low as 40% in Japan. This trend has been going on for a long time, and there are likely to be cultural factors at play. However, even if you're told to be confident, people who are not confident will not be able to change so easily. Some might say, lack of confidence doesn't bother anyone, which may be true. Then, is having no confidence a bad thing, and why? To answer this question, let us first consider the people who have confidence. For example, top athletes acquire a confident mindset from a sports psychology perspective, so they do not worry about what others think of them, whatever the result. All they think about is, what should I do next? This makes them even more confident. In contrast, people without self-confidence tend to act according to the expectations of others, which is extremely tempting. From small conversations with friends about what to have for lunch, to discussions with parents about what college or career to pursue, I was unable to escape the expectations of others and make my own choices. People who lack self-confidence will behave in ways that make them even more unsure of themselves. They are pushed around by others and lose sight of themselves. Yes, a lack of confidence is a problem because it leads to an identity crisis. So, why do these two types of people arise? This extreme difference in self-esteem is largely due to cultural factors. I remember that at a local school in Australia, when the teacher asked a question, a variety of opinions are frequently exchanged by the students. For any response, the teacher praised them as good, excellent, or amazing. In contrast, when it comes to Japanese schools, most students are reserved, frantically searching for a single expected answer to a question, for which a variety of answers are usually expected. Even after entering society, in contrast to Westerners who willingly assert their creative ideas, Japanese people dislike doing things differently from others and work to adapt themselves to the opinions required of them as a group. So, do people who grew up in the same Japanese culture all have low self-esteem and lack self-confidence? No, they don't. Of course, some can recognize themselves and maintain their self-confidence without being overly conscious of others. In other words, even if there is a certain tendency due to cultural factors, it should be possible to break this in some way. So, what can we do? The most effective solution is to practice it repeatedly. To be confident is to have a faith that you can accomplish any task. The task should not be brand new each time. It must be done over and over again so that you can reach the point where you can say, I've done this 100 and 1,000 times before. I've found that by practicing in front of a mirror first, then recording myself, and practicing repeatedly, I can go into a performance with confidence and almost no nerves. I used to be nervous about speaking in front of the public, but by enduring a lot of pressure, including in front of my family and friends, in front of native speakers in my school, and in front of hundreds of people in my club, I've developed the confidence that I can achieve it. And the key is to be able to recover from your mistakes. Even if the results are not as good as you would like, if you can think, this was good enough, instead of starting to find evidence what went wrong, you will not lose your confidence as much as you need to. It is very important to practice as much as possible and not to be depressed by failure. Moreover, you must believe in yourself when no one else does. If you don't have the confidence to believe in yourself, just pretend to be. Have you ever heard of the priming effect? It is when the stimulus received first influences subsequent decision and actions. When I was asked, "Are you nervous?" just before a situation like this one, where I was going to speak in front of a large audience, I would consciously say, "Not really." This is because I know that nervousness induces greater nervousness, and by temporarily tricking my brain, I can relax and feel more confident. Thoughts indeed affect behavior. I want to talk to my 12-year-old self and those who have little confidence. Don't care about others too much. You'll be fine. When you eventually get older and look back, you'll be surprised at yourself. No more depression, but rather excitement. You may fail at times, but don't be too serious. It's just part of life's options, so it will be all right. Enjoy it. You only live once, so live confidently and positively. I was able to change, so you can too. Finally, if there is one catchphrase that I hope everyone can take home with you today, it's inhale confidence, exhale doubt. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Risa Yamada. Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please.
All right, thank you, Risa, for your very inspiring speech.
Thank you.
I've got a few questions for you. So I think it's amazing that you were able to change yourself and gain self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Did you encounter any specific experience that changed you?
Well, like as I mentioned in the very first section of my speech, I was really shy and like I didn't have confidence to express my opinion in front of people. But one day, I tried to pretend to be my English teacher or like my friends who are really good at like presenting a speech, and I worked really hard to be like them before the chance, and then I presented my speech, and afterwards my teacher and friends gave me some comments that your presentation changed a lot, and like those comments really encouraged me to work harder, and like that experience actually made me realize that practicing or just practicing like over and over and is a good way to improve yourself on a presentation.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
So my second question, believing in yourself could be challenging sometimes.
Yeah.
And the technique that you introduced, so tricking the brain, I think is a good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us can you think of any other techniques that we might be able to use to, increase our self-confidence?
Well, like many people who are really afraid of expressing their opinions, they're too care about others, but actually the audience and others don't really care about you. Like you, even if you make a mistake or even if you deliver something wrong, or like they don't judge you anyway. So just realizing those things is make you more confident at like challenging anything. I think that's one of the ideas.
All right, thank you. Do we still have time? Okay, let's see. Do you think being overly confident is something that requires an intervention, in the same way as low self-esteem?
Well, overly
confident? Being overly confident,
yes.
Is that a bad thing, or what do you think?
I don't know. If you're like satisfied with the state of confidence that you have, it's totally fine, I think. Yeah. And even if some other people said something wrong about it, just don't care about that. Like if you carry it once, your like something you deliver will be like wrong and like will be like less good. Yeah. So just believe in yourself. That's the best thing, I think.
All right, thank you, Risa.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama and Risa Yamada. Next, let me introduce the third speaker. Yusuke Takabayashi from Doshisha University will deliver the speech under the title of Redraw the Boundaries. Redraw the Boundaries. Yusuke Takabayashi, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, timekeepers, honorable judges, all the organizers. Good afternoon, everyone. See, your mother was right? This is my mother's verbal habit. Is everything the mother says true? If this is a taunt, it gets 100 points, but as a parent's remark, it is 0 points. Have your parents meddled in your life too much? Your parents may interfere with various things, such as entrance exams, advancing to higher education, and other types of study. And children often blow boundaries with their parents. As a result, your parents may cross boundaries without you knowing it, causing you stress. A boundary is like a contour that separates you from others, so think of it as a tool for building healthy relationships. So today, I will speak from a young person's point of view about how to improve the situation in which young people suffer from excessive interference from their parents. So my first message for you is that excessive interference happens to everyone, all races, all religions, all income levels, and all education levels. It's everywhere. Even if you don't currently suffer from excessive interference, this knowledge will come in handy when you become a parent. So I propose a method of escape from the pain of over-interference. Furthermore, it will also help to curb domestic violence among young people, which is increasing year by year. Excessive interference prevents a child from doing what he or she wants to do, or forces the child to do too much of what he or she does not want to do. So simply put, parents decide everything for their children. So children have a lot of dissatisfaction because they have little freedom and are constrained. Currently, many children are suffering from over-interference from their parents. In fact, according to the National Police Agency's White Paper on Crime in 2020, the number of cases of domestic violence by young people increased 2.85 times over the 9 years from 2009 to 2018. 2.85 times. And most of the motives for domestic violence by adolescents were in opposition to discipline and parental attitude. So children suffer from over-interference with their parents. So parents should not overly interfere with their children, even if they share the same blood. Excessive interference prevents a child. Excessive interference leads to exhaustion and mental instability. The study of 7-year-olds from the National University of Singapore found that children with overly interested parents were more likely to be self-critical and prone to anxiety. So if what the child wants to do does not match the parent's ideal, it is rejected outright. I also couldn't express my true feelings when I saw my parents' reactions. Furthermore, the police can get involved in family disputes based on the principle of civil non-intervention. I'm not a psychiatrist, a social worker, or an expert in domestic violence. I'm just one person with a story to tell. It was a sudden event. Why can't you even do what I said? Shut up, I'll kill you. It was when I was relaxed in the living room after eating dinner. My brother and mother started to quarrel. It wasn't uncommon for family members to argue, so I wasn't really concerned. However, somewhere in my heart, I felt something was different than usual. Finally, my brother, who had reached the limit of patience, suddenly stood up and rushed into the kitchen. He then took the knife off the shelf and walked up to our mother, who was doing the laundry in the bathroom. Our father, who sensed something was wrong, instinctively grabbed my brother's arm and knocked him down. At the time, my older brother looked as though a demon had possessed him. At the moment, he exploded from the stress of my parents' over-interference. So why do parents over-interfere with their children? It is because our boundaries are ambiguous and unwittingly cross the boundaries with their parents. So parents do not recognize the appropriate boundaries, and children end up not knowing their own values because they are forced to follow their parents' demands. So since boundaries are not visible, they quickly become ambiguous, and where there is ambiguity, power relations enter. Right now, maybe you're thinking, wow, this is fascinating, or you poor thing. But this whole time, I've actually been talking about you. I promise you, there are several people listening to me right now who are being currently over-interfered or who are over-interfered at children. So now, I will suggest two methods that I've actually tried and found to be effective. The first is to keep a physical distance. It is difficult to avoid parental interference when living together. Your actions are also restricted, and it becomes difficult to live independently. So separate your, in my case, I reduced the number of face-to-face meetings with my parents as much as possible and increase the time I spend alone in my room. So separate your life and create your own territory, your own time with a sense of distance. The second is to maintain an appropriate mental distance. So what we can do is reduce the psychological boundaries. So it is important to listen to signals of discomfort that you feel when the boundary is crossed. So in other words, it is necessary for yourself to clarify for yourself what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. So the important thing is to communicating your thoughts and ideas to your parents. So don't be afraid to say no sometimes. In my case, I used lying to tell my parents to stop interfering excessively. In addition, I was able to parry my parents' interference by creating a reason in my own life and living a comfortable life. This question of boundaries is not limited to parent and child. It is also important for relationships at work between friends. If you can acquire a healthy sense of boundaries, you will be able to honestly evaluate and challenge your will do. Also, you will be no longer be uncomfortable with communicating your thoughts and ideas. There are two types of train tracks. One track goes straight, and you can see the destination, but it is decided by someone else. The other is a track with poor visibility, but you can choose a number of junctions. Which directions do you want your life to go in? The first step, let's reduce the personal boundaries and create your own identity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yusuke Takabayashi. Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayomo, please.
Right. Thank you, Yusuke, for your thought-provoking speech. I've got a few questions for you.
Thank you. Okay.
So imagine you were a parent. What would you be careful of when interacting with your children to mitigate or to minimize, I guess, the issue that you discussed in your speech?
My parents.
Imagine you were a parent.
So I want to cherish, so it is important to go easy on the child, and it is also important to respect the autonomy of the child, I think.
Thank you. So in your speech, you suggested that this technique of redrawing the boundaries can be used in schools or at work. Can you say a little bit more about that?
For example, if you're invited to drinking party, you will say no firmly. Yeah, something like that.
All right. Okay, let's see. Do you also see a problem with parents under-interfering with their children? So parents not interested in their kids' lives.
Sorry?
So do you also see a problem with parents under-interfering? So they're not interested in the children's lives, so they don't say anything, you know.
I don't think so. So, of course, so something happens to a child, it is always parent who are held accountable, and it is also natural for parents to want their children to grow up to be good child. So, so parents say this for the sake of us, the child. So that's why it is important. That's why children's point of view is so important. So we, the child, draw the boundaries and adjust a sense of boundaries each time.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Can you think of any challenges in implementing the strategies or redrawing the boundaries? So do you think it's, you know, an easy strategy to use, or can you anticipate any challenges using that strategy?
So drawing boundaries is not difficult at all. Because so if you feel stressed by dealing with parents more than once, it means you were being overly interfered with. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama and Yusuke Takabayashi. Next, let me introduce the fourth speaker. Ayana Yoda from Doshisha University will deliver the speech under the title of 15 Minutes for Happiness. 15 Minutes for Happiness. Ayana Yoda, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, distinguished judges, all the organizers, and all the audiences. Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone, please imagine your mother's birthday. Every year on that day, you used to go out for eating dinner as a family. However, one day she suddenly said, "I can't go. Go have fun with everyone except me." How do you feel about this? In fact, this situation is what I experienced last year. At that time, I felt so sad because I couldn't have the same meal with my loved one. Can you imagine why this happened? Today, I'm standing here to talk about diabetes. In Japanese, 糖尿病. You think you will suffer from it in your 40s or later, right? However, the frightening thing is there is no warning signs. So if you don't take any actions when you are young, you will suddenly suffer. So through my speech, I hope all of you prevent diabetes from now on. Today in Japan, many people suffer from diabetes. According to the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare, 1 in 5 people has diabetes or pre-diabetes. Please look around. 1 in 5 people around you may suffer from it. It's more than you can imagine, isn't it? So, it's definitely relevant to you and of course your loved ones. That's why everyone needs to prevent diabetes. In fact, last year, my mother was diagnosed with diabetes. As treatment, she was restricted in what she ate. Only foods she was allowed to eat were low-calorie foods. Any carbohydrates were not allowed. She really loved to eat, so it was so painful to watch her struggle to hold back. Since then, my family has never eaten the same meal together. Yes, diabetes made it impossible for us to get together like we did in the past. It destroyed my family's happiness. So, I hope everyone can eat a full meal with your loved ones forever. Unfortunately, once a person has diabetes, in many cases it can't be cured. Incurable. This is what makes it so scary like no other disease. Then, it can also cause cancer, heart disease, or stroke. For example, people with diabetes have a 20% higher risk of cancer. Not only that, it will cause grief for you and your loved ones. It's very horrible. Then why do people get diabetes? There are a lot of causes for this. But here, I focus on one after-meal habit. That is, sleeping after eating. Everyone has experienced feeling sleepy after eating, right? The reason is that when blood sugar levels become high due to carbohydrates in the diet, insulin, which helps lower blood sugar levels, is released in large quantities. Moreover, according to Diabetes Information Center, if this is repeated over and over, insulin eventually stops functioning and is unable to lower blood sugar levels. This causes diabetes. That means high blood sugar after eating is a major factor. Then, what can be done? I went through a lot of papers and studies and actually tried it and finally came up with a great solutions. Now, let me tell you a simple method that anyone can do. Move lightly for 15 minutes after eating. You don't have to do any hard exercise. Just walking is fine. In fact, 15 minutes of exercise after eating lowers blood sugar levels without using insulin. It's only 15 minutes. You can definitely do it. However, some of you may think, oh, is it really enough? As you may imagine, a perfect diet or hard exercise can have a greater effect. Having said that, how many people can do those things perfectly for a long time? Can you do that? At least I can't. Even if you try to stop eating carbohydrates, you'll never be able to continue because carbohydrates such as rice, ramen, and so on always tempt us and are so delicious. I'm sure you'll fail along the way. Don't you think the important thing is to continue? Even small things will definitely have a positive effect. Everyone, why don't you start exercising for just 15 minutes? I've tried it myself, so I'll explain how I could lower my blood sugar levels. Previously, after eating, I felt drowsy every day, and I used to waste my time by taking a 3-hour nap. However, after I started exercising after eating, I've never felt sleepy at all. That means I could lower my blood sugar. Here are my examples. First, I do the dishes for 5 minutes. Then, I brush my teeth while walking in place for 5 minutes. Then, for the remaining 5 minutes, I try to do the normal things, such as getting dressed, cleaning, or doing laundry. Such simple things can prevent diabetes. It's wonderful, right? And the benefits don't stop there. In my case, I no longer take naps. This has allowed me to have more time available and to focus on many tasks. Like this, many good things can happen to you. So I want everyone to try it. My mother still suffers from diabetes. I don't know when she'll be cured. besides you, may have diabetes as well. I don't want you to feel the same sadness. Preventing diabetes allows you to enjoy time with your loved ones forever. Just 15 minutes will brighten your life. Ladies and gentlemen, everything is 15 minutes for happiness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayana Yoda. Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please.
Thank you, Ayana, for your very thoughtful presentation or speech.
Thank you.
So listening to your speech, I was wondering about a few things. So let me ask them to you. So let's see. I think you have an important story to tell, and making a speech like this is a great first step. As a next step, what do you wish to do to promote, to raise people's awareness of diabetes and how to prevent it?
I want everyone to know the causes and solutions. That's why I presenting this speech. And what I try these days is telling my friends to move lightly for 15 minutes. And many of my friends did that, and they said, oh, it was very effective. So I want you to know many people, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moving lightly for 15 minutes, I think it's a great advice. If we wanted to do a little bit more than that, what would you recommend that we do?
I recommend 2 things. First, do not eat many carbohydrates, but I think it is very difficult. And the second one is move lightly for more time or heavy exercise, like going to the gym or running every day. But I think this is also very difficult to take actions. So if you can do that, I recommend these one. But I suggest only 15 minutes of exercise.
Okay, thank you. All right. So in your speech, you made recommendations for what individuals can do to prevent diabetes. Do you think there's anything that the government or the society can do to promote awareness of diabetes and how to prevent it?
Yes, governments should promote more. But these days, government like Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare says or announced the guideline to prevent diabetes, or many TV programs many TV program says we should prevent diabetes, but I think many people has already noticed that we have to prevent diabetes, but many people don't take actions because the solution is very difficult, like eating carbohydrates. So I want government to promote, like my suggestion, more easy solutions. I want them to do so.
All right, thank you, Ayana. That's it from me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama and Ayana Yoda. Next, let me introduce the 5th speaker. Leo Branch from St. Paul's University will deliver the speech under the title of Loving Everyone. Loving Everyone. Leo Branch, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, honorable judges, all the organizers, and the audience. Everyone, good afternoon. Thank you. I asked my parents what my name meant. Leo is my name, which means lion. The animal bites off zebras' heads and looks like a giant cat. But recently, I experienced something interesting to make me reconsider what my name meant. I had two grandmothers. One of my grandmother is no longer living. My grandmother from my mother's side passed away 2 years ago on August 5th, 2021. My grandmother was a kind woman. Whenever I visited her, she used to walk up to me and say, "Welcome, come in, come in." Wasn't it cold outside? She loved flowers and crafted many beautiful flower decorations and gave them to everyone around her. She had a great heart and helped countless unprivileged people. However, 11 years ago, when I was only 9 years old, shocking news came to my ears. I also vividly remember my mother crying while listening to this. My grandmother got diagnosed with cancer. As a 9-year-old boy, I didn't know how cancer affects our bodies, but I knew it was something bad, something we really don't want. Ever since I heard that information, I was anxious when I visited her. I often told myself this might be my last time to see her. But at the same time, I saw her looking absolutely fine. She walked up to me and said, as usual, "Welcome, come in, come in." Wasn't it cold outside? Little did I know, she was only hiding her condition in front of her beloved grandson. Also, a massive challenge was awaiting me. It was the toughest and the most terrifying challenge for me at that time. It was to convey my final appreciation to my grandmother before she left us. Truth be told, I thought of delivering my last words dozens of times. But I couldn't talk openly because she might get upset or sad by reminding her impending death. My mouth shut when I imagined her sad face. This hesitation kept me from conveying my final message. However, simultaneously, I was getting used to this terrible situation, even after 10 years had passed from the very moment my grandmother got diagnosed with cancer. I still could not take action because I never really thought she would die. I was taking her existence for granted. On August 4th, 2021, the situation changed. It was a dark, cloudy morning. Not a single bird chirping was to be heard, but the silence everywhere made my heart pound. I had a phone call from my mother. My mother remained silent for a while, and when I asked, "Is everything okay?" she cried. Back then, my grandmother no longer had comprehension because of terminal cancer. She was on drugs to numb her pain, and her consciousness was unstable. It was as if a bubble were almost touching the tip of a needle, but barely levitating to avoid bursting. I recalled what I must do. I needed to convey my final appreciation. But even if I were to say anything, she no longer understood anything. My mother showed my grandmother through a line video. My grandmother miraculously regained some energy and said to me, looking right through my eyes, "Why don't you come here?" A shiver ran down my spine. All I could do was look up to fight back my tears. When I visited her, she used to say, "Welcome, come in, come in." But that word was never to be heard ever again. After 12 hours had passed, I had a phone call again. It was from my mother, saying that my grandmother had died. On the day of her funeral, I was genuinely down. I even thought I didn't have the right to say goodbye. After listening to the chant coming out from the monk, I put some colorful flowers in my grandmother's coffin. And then abruptly, my ear caught a song that my grandmother loved. It was Let It Be, sang by the Beatles. As the lyric came to my ears, it reminded me of my grandmother. Simultaneously, it felt like the song was trying to tell me something. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine on till tomorrow, let it be. Each word that came into my ears made me think that my grandmother was trying to tell me something. And then it didn't take me that long for me to realize. Her death was not a tragedy, but a lesson for all of us. She told us 3 important things. First, we take our loved one's existence too much for granted. It's too late to realize when your loved one is already gone. Please tell your thanks and love as much as possible. There is no guarantee that your loved one will wait for you. Second, when you want to convey your final message, it isn't tomorrow, not 10 years later, but now is the time you thank them. When you want to convey your final appreciation, your intuition already knows what to do. According to research conducted by the Japan Hospice Palliative Care Foundation, more than 60% of people cannot convey their final message even if they had the opportunity to do so. There are so many people out there who couldn't deliver their final message and regret, like me. Please surround your loved one with your caring heart. Lastly, there is always hope. Though the day when my grandmother passed away was the darkest day in my life, now her lesson is the brightest light that shines on this very stage. In short, my grandmother told us to love every loved one. Thinking about the essence of this speech, I came down to 3 words: loving every one. If you take each initial from each word, that makes L, E, and O. My grandmother gave me a new meaning to my name. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leo Branch. Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
Thank you, Leo, for your very touching speech. I've
you.
got a few questions for you. So what are some things that you do differently now as a result of this experience?
Okay, thank you for your question. And I've got siblings in the UK, and I've got my grandparents and also all my siblings in Japan. And I often contact them to say, I'm doing like this, I participated in this contest or like that, and I update everyone, and I say that I always appreciate them. And whenever I have an occasion to see them, I do like FaceTime or Skype to see them.
Right, thank you. Okay, so is there anything we can do on a daily basis to remind ourselves of the 3 important lessons that you discussed in your speech?
Okay, thank you. So first, we take our loved one's existence too much for granted. So knowing that and appreciating them on a daily basis, so if they did something nice for you, saying thanks and doing something in return is a really good, I think, idea. And if you have a person who is in a life-threatening situation but still have comprehension, you must, or you can and you will, I think, convey your appreciation. So I think that could be done. And thinking about the last lesson, I think every person faces adversity and difficult situations, and seeing a light in such darkness, I think, is a thing to bear in mind. So I think remembering these 3 things are important.
Right. So let's see. Some people are not necessarily very expressive, and they might find it challenging to express their emotions. So in addition to sort of verbally, expressing our gratitude, emotions, what do you think we can do to tell loved ones that we love them?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. And I think there are a lot of ways nowadays to communicate with other people. So instead of talking to a person in person, I think we've got social networking services and also other ways, maybe a letter, to convey their appreciation. So the method should be decided by the individual, and I think that would do depending on the person's characteristic. So since there are a lot of means of communication, using these and utilizing those are important.
Okay, thank you, Leo. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama and Leo Branch. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is time for us to welcome the sixth speaker. Maria Saito from Tsuda University will deliver the speech under the title of Another Choice of Language. Another Choice of Language. Maria Saito, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Master Assembly and honorable judges. Good afternoon, everyone. When you suddenly face someone who does not look like Japanese, in what language will you speak with that person? Most people judge by appearance. For example, if it is a woman with blonde hair and blue eyes, you'd speak in English because you expect that she will speak in English. But if she cannot speak English, or she can speak Japanese, how would you feel? Is it weird? Today, I'd like to talk about a language. It is not a normal language, but a magical language that you can use in every conversation in Japan. Moreover, it is not difficult or hard to practice, and does not take much time to master. And after my speech, I hope you will have another choice of language to communicate with. Before talking about the language, I will tell you why I recognize the problem with the language. Once my British professor in my university said, "I'm very sad for being spoken in English because of my appearance, even though I can speak Japanese." And I was confused because I believed that being spoken in English was comfortable for him. And at the moment, I realized that we tend to judge someone's language by its appearance, which leads to prejudice and discomfort for others. So in this way, his words made me aware of this issue. As you know, language is a really important tool for communication. By the way, what kind of language do you speak usually? Most of you would answer Japanese, and that is natural because in Japan, most of the people speak in Japanese. So we assume that speaking Japanese or Japanese ability is normal or common thing in Japan. However, this will be not always true in the future. According to the Japanese government, they estimate that the number of foreign workers will be increased by over 1 million in the next decade. Therefore, the more foreigners come, the more we have chances to face foreigners who have difficulty with Japanese. In that case, what language are we going to use? Now I can hear you complaining, we are learning English for that kind of situation. And certainly, English can be described as a world language. But speaking of Japan, the situation is a little bit different. First of all, most Japanese people tend to hesitate or are willing to speak in English, even though they have learned English for a long time. And according to the Nikkei newspaper, about 90% of Japanese people have an inferiority complex about their English skills. And second, foreign people in Japan are also not always fluent in English. According to the Immigration Services Agency of Japan, about 2.8 million foreign people have come from various countries, and most of them are Asian countries, so that their mother tongues are Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, and Tagalog, not English. In this case, what did you do? Are you going to learn all of these languages? And this is where the new magical language comes in. So today, what I want to introduce you, the magical language called Easy Japanese, known in Japanese as Yasashi Nihongo. Perhaps some of you may have already known this term, but in general, recognition of this language is low in Japan. So firstly, I want to explain about this magical language. Easy Japanese is a language in which idioms and honorifics are deduced as much as possible. The language is paraphrased into simple words in consideration of foreigners who have difficulty with Japanese. So those of us who usually speak Japanese, Easy Japanese is really easy to work with. And this is also true for foreigners. According to a survey, 88% of foreign residents in Japan have a level of Japanese proficiency sufficient for daily conversation. So in other words, in Japan, Easy Japanese is much useful language than the native language or even English. And there is another benefit from using this magical language. As I mentioned earlier, when we face a stranger, we tend to judge someone's language by its appearance. But most of the time, appearance is meaningless to guess their background. On the other hand, if you use Easy Japanese, you will not hurt someone with assumption about where they're from, and you can start your conversation easily and find out the background of the person more smoothly. Everyone here is already interested in English or using English. And most of us tend to connect foreigners with English because we have mainly learned English as a foreign language. But actually, there are a huge number of diverse languages and speakers in Japan. So to communicate and coexist with various kinds of cultures in Japan, please remember that you have another choice of language to start your conversation with foreigners. So my advice to you is go and make some magic with Easy Japanese. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria Saito. Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayomo, please.
All right. Thank you, Maria, for your very interesting speech. As I was listening to your speech, I was wondering about a few things. So let me ask them to you.
Yes.
So just so we are all on the same page, can you give us some concrete examples of Easy Japanese and describe how it's different from what we might otherwise use?
Okay, thank you. I prepared a perfect example. For example, when we ask someone, did you have breakfast? We would say, 朝食を召し上がりましたか in Japanese. But this sentence is really difficult for non-native Japanese speakers. So in Easy Japanese, we would say, 朝食 change into 朝ごはん. And 召し上がりましたか is honorific, so we would change into 食べましたか? So that is more easy to understand for non-native Japanese speakers. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So can you tell us about a time when you actually used Easy Japanese, if you have, and what happened?
Okay, thank you. Actually, I learned about Easy Japanese in my class in my university, and it was the class with exchange students, and I have an opportunity to use Easy Japanese in that class, and I met a student from China, and she can, of course, she can speak English, but she is more comfortable with Japanese because the Chinese use kanji. So we talked in easy Japanese. Both of us talked in easy Japanese, and that is more comfortable in easy Japanese, not in English. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. So in your speech, you mentioned that not many Japanese people are aware of easy Japanese, and I agree. So in addition to making a speech like this, what can you do, or what do you already do to promote easy Japanese?
Okay, thank you. Individually, I think it is more important to, like I said in my speech, take action, because the foreigners are minority in Japan, so we have to take some action to meet some foreigners to use easy Japanese. So firstly, I wanted to take action to meet a lot of people who come from various countries, and when you have a conversation with them, please do not use English or other languages. Firstly, you can use easy Japanese, and that is the activity to promote easy Japanese individually, and also as the kind of the public solution for like using easy Japanese on the posters, like the basic posters or something like that, is more useful to promote easy Japanese. Yes.
Okay, that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama and Maria Saito. Next, let me introduce the seventh speaker. Misaki Yamaoka from Waseda University will deliver the speech under the title of Let the Voices Be Heard. Let the voices be heard. Misaki Yamaoka, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony and distinguished judges. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. How should we live from now on? No one will help us, said a woman sobbing in despair. She had just gotten divorced and had 2 children. One was a 7-year-old girl, and the other a 2-year-old boy. She was a single mother, but couldn't work long hours because her son couldn't enter the nursery school. The family fell on hard times, and their smiles disappeared. She tried to ask for help, but could not because she was overwhelmed. In fact, no one had taught her what to do in this situation. Her family failed to receive the public assistance that should have been provided. This tragedy is what happened to my family 12 years ago. I'll never forget my mother's desperate eyes at that time. Japan has a system to support people with various difficulties, like the poor, single mothers, and young caregivers, but it is not properly provided to those who should receive it. According to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, of those who qualify for public assistance, less than 20% receive it. By contrast, in Sweden, which gives support in a push-type way, the percentage is 82%. According to the Japan Federation of Bar Associations, this low rate is due to the complicated application process in trying to receive assistance. Such a wide gap should not be tolerated. Our voices in need and the government voices willing to help should be hearing one another. So today, I am standing here to explain how to let the voices be heard from both ways. I'm going to talk about what the government can do to solve this problem. Also, I'd like to appeal that your understanding and help are necessary to overcome the barrier together to realize a society where everyone can enjoy a rewarding life. To start, let's find out what is happening in our society. One example is caregiver fatigue, a mental and physical exhaustion caused by caring for a family member without public support. It can lead to depression, and in the worst case, murder or suicide. According to the Japan Research Institute, about 60% of caregivers are unaware of and don't receive support. In 2020, a woman killed her 9-year-old grandmother. The grandmother had dementia and needed other support to live. Because the granddaughter worked with care, she slept only 2 hours a day. She really loved her grandmother, but she had reached her limit mentally and physically. In the end, the tragedy took place. This is a tragedy that could have been prevented with proper support. Please keep in mind, this is only an example of one case. Many people are suffering, even at this moment. Then, why do such situations occur? It's mostly because Japan has an application-based welfare system. This means that even if we meet the requirements for support, we will not receive it unless we do research and make the necessary applications by ourselves. So the government has no choice but to wait for voices in need and has no way to deliver voices willing to help. Imagine if we had a society that could immediately help people in need. We could spend our days with smiles and without anxiety. To realize such an ideal society, we need to let the voices be heard from both ways. So, how can the government achieve this? I suggest the government make use of information technology. A good example is Aurora AI, which is planned to be introduced in Finland this year. This AI-based platform will allow people to receive the services they need in a push-type way. The platform is based on personal data such as childbirth, employment, and health. The data is collected from a personal identification system like the My Number system in Japan. Based on this data, the AI will identify each person's needs and give it support automatically. Also, remarkably, the system has a capability to create new services. When there is no appropriate service, it combines existing systems to improve the situations. I'd like the Japanese government to implement a system like this Aurora AI. Then, what can we do to make this a reality? That is, changing our minds about our personal data and linking our information to our My Number. Many people are hesitant about the government's collection, retention, and administrative usage of their personal data. However, according to the Cabinet Office, if such hesitations remain, the implementation of technology will be difficult. This hesitancy is mainly due to our concerns about information leakage. You might think sudden change is difficult, but the government has many security measures in place to prevent data breaches. Actually, My Number system obtained international standards for security function evaluation. So we need to change our minds and linking our information to our My Number. That is the first step towards making an ideal, people-oriented system that improves our lives. So, Your understanding and help are indispensable. There are people seeking help. There are also people willing to help. 12 years have passed since a real-life dialogue between the two sides was broken. It's time to fix the dialogue. And it's time to let the voices be heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Misaki Yamaoka. Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please.
All right. Thank you, Misaki, for sharing your valuable experience. Let me ask you a few questions about your speech.
Okay.
So I want to ask about Aurora AI. Let's imagine that we're going to introduce Aurora AI in Japan. In addition to challenges faced by single mothers, what other problems in society can it help?
Thank you for your question. Well, I think everyone who are all people who are in need can Aurora AI is good for all people who are in need because by using such system, they can receive support automatically.
Okay, thank you. So implementing a proactive or what you call push type system, welfare system, would arguably require more money, more funding.
Sorry, one more time, please.
So if we want to use something like Aurora AI, right, it probably requires more funding, more money. So what can we learn? What can Japan learn from Finland or any other countries to make sure that we have enough money to use something like Aurora AI?
Thank you for your question. Thank you for asking. But unfortunately, the Swedish government makes such information secret. So about the information on the cost. But let me introduce our research about the beneficial advantage about Aurora AI. A Swedish economist said there are long-term economical benefit by using Aurora AI because by using this, it can lead to reduction of the useless expenses and that raises the economical efficiency. So I believe even if the initial cost is high, I believe it's worth doing it.
Thank you. Let's see. So what challenges do you anticipate in implementing your idea? So using Aurora AI in Japan, and how do you think we can overcome that challenge?
Thank you for your question. As I stated in my speech, the biggest challenges is our minds about using personal data. So, yeah. I think what is important for us is to know what the government is going to do, and by doing such action, what benefits we can receive.
All right, thank you, Misaki.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama and Misaki Yamaoka. Next, let me introduce the eighth speaker, Yui Igarashi from Takasaki City University of Economics will deliver the speech under the title of There's Nothing Normal Normally. There's Nothing Normal Normally. Yui Igarashi, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Masters of Ceremonies and distinguished judges. Good afternoon, everyone. The Japanese word 普通 is difficult to use because it has a lot of meanings. When you try to translate it into English, we can use normal, not special, average, or common, for example. In one context, we say that this ramen is not special but delicious. And in another, we normally sprinkle lemon on fried chicken. During the summer vacation in my second year of university, I gathered with classmates from my junior high school after a long time. Everyone had changed so much, and they were all dressed up. In our conversation, I said, when we become university students, we normally go to hair salon. Friend A responded, I agree. I can't believe there is anyone who doesn't go to a hair salon as a university student. Friend B was there without saying anything. A few days later, I met friend C. I heard that B was crying after that conversation. I was surprised to learn that she still had her hair cut by her mother because she couldn't afford to go to a salon. I regretted saying it from the bottom of my heart. If I hadn't used the word 普通 so casually, I could have avoided hurting my friend. This experience made me want not to hurt anyone with this thoughtless use of 普通 again. We unconsciously use the word 普通 and occasionally hurt someone. However, this word itself does not have a bad meaning. For example, there is nothing wrong with the sentence. We don't normally shoplift. What is bad is how we use it. Inappropriate use, like in experience, can result in hurting someone. So I thought a lot about how to use the word 普通 appropriately, and I came up with one method. Today, I'd like to introduce this method so that as many people as possible will stop using the word 普通 without thinking carefully. I hope nobody will get hurt by this word in the future. Each person has a specific standard for each thing around us. At the same time, we believe that our standards are the same as others. Therefore, we believe that our standards are normal. Let me give you 2 examples. First, when a traffic light is red, you believe nobody normally crosses a crosswalk. Also, you think if one has studied hard, they will normally pass the exam. However, when you think that your standards are always normal and use the word 普通, you can hurt someone. In the first example with the traffic light, your standards and other standards are the same, and nobody gets hurt when you say so. On the other hand, in the second example with studying, your and other standards are different. While you think you will pass the examination if you study a lot, others may not think so because they failed the exam in spite of their hard work. Here, your words can make them feel their efforts are denied, and consequently, you end up hurting them. When you hurt someone, you will feel regret and a guilty conscience about it. These feelings will, in turn, torment you. Thus, the misuse of the word 普通 can hurt not only someone, but also yourself. Then, why do people think their standards are normal? It is because we make what is called hasty generalization. It is one of the cognitive biases, which is psychological phenomena. People make unreasonable judgments based on their own assumptions or affected by their surroundings. In hasty generalization, a conclusion is reached with only one or few instances of perceptions without sufficient evidence. Suppose 3 lazy students say, Professor A is strict. You believe he is strict due to hasty generalization. However, Professor A is not necessarily strict because only a few students say so. He may actually have a gentle, lenient side. Thus, we only see things with limited evidence, and we can't see the whole picture of the fact. Then, how can we see the fact without jumping to a biased conclusion? When you're about to use the word 普通, think about the counter-example of hasty generalization of 普通. To consider the counterexample, take 4 steps, asking the following questions. Why, what if, and then what? Taking these steps, you can recognize that there are different people, different thoughts, and different standards from yours. You can realize that your normal is not a solid fact, but just based on your own ideas with a few cases. Step 1, ask why. In this step, you ask why to your normal standard and search in experience for objective facts as a reason for it. For example, when you're about to say, this job normally takes 30 minutes, you should ask yourself, why do I think it takes 30 minutes? Then your answer can be, I've done it in 30 minutes before. Step 2, ask another why to seek an objective reason why you were able to do it. Why did I finish it in 30 minutes? Then you may get the answer, because I'm used to such tasks. Step 3, ask for the opposite case. What if I wasn't used to it? You may see, I wouldn't be able to finish it in 30 minutes. Finally, step 4, ask, then what? You will say to yourself, some people won't finish it in 30 minutes. Now, you can see that your standards are different from others, and therefore, you will no longer use the word 普通 without paying any attention. Then, there will be nobody will get hurt by this word. If I had known this method when I talked with my friends from junior high, I could have taken these 4 steps. I could have thought that some university students didn't go to hair salon for financial reasons. Then I wouldn't have hurt my friend with my casual remark, and I wouldn't have suffered from a sense of guilt. Today, I talked about how to use the word 普通 correctly. When you're about to use the word 普通, please recall this method. Why, what if, and then what? Using this method, you can tell whether your normal is based on facts or just your own ideas. When you understand there is nothing normal normally, you can use 普通 appropriately. And there will be no one who gets hurt by this word in this world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yui Garashi. Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please.
Thank you, Yui, for your thought-provoking speech.
Thank you.
I've got a few questions for you. So, in addition to making a public speech like this, what do you do or what can you do to promote this important idea of not using words casually?
Could you say again, please? Sorry.
So I think you have an important story to tell. And, making a public speech like this, it's a very good first step. As a next step, what do you think you can do to promote this idea of using words carefully?
Today, everyone hear my speech. And after you go home and go school or work, please tell the content of hear speeches, I think.
Okay, thank you. So let's see. What is your analysis of your remark about hair salon using the, why, what if, then what technique?
Yes. Analyze of the 4 steps.
Right.
I came up with this solution when I have the experience that I have heard my friend with the word 普通. And that at the same time, I realized that many other people misuse the word 普通. So I wanted to know how to use the word 普通 correctly. Then thinking about how to use it correctly, I remembered my Clam school teacher's word, ask yourself why several times. But however, just asking why doesn't tell me how it should be used. So I did research a lot, and I have learned about hasty generalization. So I thought about the way to avoid hasty generalization, and I reached my solution.
Okay, so how can you apply the why, what if, then what technique to your remark about hair salon?
Okay. First step. Why do I think my friend? How do I think my friend go the hair salon? The answer can be, the friends around me go to a hair salon every month or every week. And step two, why the friends around me go to hair salon? Because they have the money for self-improvement. Step three, what if they don't have money? Then they want to go hair salon. And step four, then what? Some university students didn't go to hair salon.
All right, perfect. Thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama and Yui Igarashi. Next, let me introduce the ninth speaker. Lisa Yamamoto from Kwansei Gakuin University will deliver the speech under the title of Red Manicure. Red Manicure. Lisa Yamamoto, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Chairperson and honorable judges. Look at this. My friend told me showing her cute colored nails. That's so cute, I replied. Then my friend who was sitting next to me said, it's cute, but it's haram. Haram is a word that is used when Islamic people do something not appropriate for their religion. I can't forget the nail polish my friend was wearing. Not only because it suited her, but also the manicure sparked a discussion among my friends about their religious views. Some agreed with their manicure. Others disagreed. As for the arguments involving religion, I was surprised to see each one speaking his or her own opinion, as this was the first time I had ever done so. I was an exchange student at a Christian university in the United States, and stories involving religion were common. It was just like talking about their favorite football team. Today, I want to talk about my feelings about religion. For example, I could start my speech like this. Lord God, thank you for granting me this opportunity to be on this stage. This is a destiny decided. You have enabled me to do this. How does this sound to you? Did you think that I'm a religious person? Maybe you might feel a little creepy. Religion is something Japanese don't talk about. How many of you are religious? You might feel uncomfortable being asked about this question. We feel judged by what we believe. In Japan, talking about religion seems to be a major taboo. Do you know the 3 most popular taboos in Japan? They say the answer is religion, politics, and baseball. Religion in particular being on top. I had never talked about it among friends here. When you talk about religion, your friends don't seem to stop by. Is talking about religion that scary? I didn't realize it until I went to the United States, but I felt that people in Japan who believe in a religion might be finding it very hard to live in Japan, since according to a 2020 survey by the Hakodo Life Research Institute, only 22% of Japanese believe in religion. However, in Japan, we think if you are expressive about your religion or make a mistake like talking about it, you are automatically assumed to be part of some cult. We hear a lot about the negative side of being religious. TV programs, the internet, social media are telling us how bad it is to believe in something, how much it is affecting people, how people act when they are into religion. Is this negative impression all caused by religion? I think there are different causes of this. We need to think about the causes before acting like religion is something dreadful. One of the reasons why people avoid this is because of commercialization of religious object, which people spend a lot of money on. Another cause is that the news give the impression that religious people are involved in crimes. Is this just because they're religious? Sometimes there can be a strong stereotyping. Insulting Japanese from religion, but making innocent religious believers feel rejected. I think we know a lot about the negative side, but why are some people believing in something? It should have a positive effect too. Some of my close friends always told me about the story of God. For example, when something bad happens, one friend said, "It is the way that God is making you want to go." She told me, every trouble you're facing is what God wants you to overcome. When you feel bad, and if you don't have anyone to cling to, God will always be with us. This way of thinking is making them feel better. To have nobody on our side is scary. We have times that we want to rely on something. One of my religious friends told me that believing was like home. When she prayed, she said she felt comfortable. Whenever she prayed and thought about it, she said she felt like she was calm. People say that cross-cultural communication requires an understanding of the language and the culture of the country. But I also felt that by knowing a religion a person believes in, I could get to know the person better. So I felt it was necessary to step forward and not to be afraid to talk about religion. In her new home, my friend, wearing a red manicure, was trying to adapt to the new American world while adhering to religion. Reneo, she thought, must be a synthesis between her religion and her new surroundings. I think because she jumped into a new world and sought peace and stability in her own way while dealing with various people. I think there is no answer if religion is good or bad for us. I want to focus on the positive side of believing in something. We Japanese focus on the negative side often more than the good effects of mental health. Before rejecting and shutting out information about religion, I think we need to rethink how to act when we face religion. I'm not trying to make you believe in something, but it can be home for someone. Let us all feel comfortable at home in Japan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa Yamamoto.
Thank you.
Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
Thank you, Lisa, for your very interesting speech. As I was listening to your speech, a few questions came to my mind, so let me ask them to you. So let's see. What do you hope people will accomplish by being able to express their religious beliefs in Japan? Why is it important?
I think it is important because I feel like people who believe in a religion in Japan has nobody to talk about their religion. So I think it's difficult to make a community in their religion. And also, if something bad happens about their religion, about their family, I think people cannot express through religion. So I think that is a problem.
Okay, thank you. So what actions do you take or could you take to further convince people in Japan that it's okay to talk about religion?
First, I'm in the E.S.S club right now, and to make a discussion among religion, I am right now trying to discuss by using a topic about religion or Christianity, Islamic, and all those kind of topic. And I am trying to make movement from my small community right now, and that's what I'm doing.
Great. So for your friend, it was the red manicure that sort of signified her new identity. How do you express yourself, your beliefs?
Right now, I don't believe in any religion, but I believe that there is some kind of God and those kind of things. So during January 1st, I go to shrines and I celebrate Christmas. And I think accepting a lot of religion is also like not bad for us. So I think using those kind of like days, I think I am expressing how to like be not religious, but I'm trying to accept religion.
Okay, great. So I think you touched upon an interesting example. So many Japanese people go to a shrine on New Year's Day, right? So we may not talk about religion per se, but we do things that could be considered religious, right? Like going to a temple shrine. What kind of implications do you think that has on your arguments today?
Do you mean like how does it affect badly, or?
So I think one of your arguments today was Japanese people are not religious. So it's true that we don't talk about it, but we do religious things, right? So what do you think about that? What kind of implications does that have on your arguments?
I think people take those religious events as like a normal event. For example, like a birthday. So it's a celebration for us mainly. So I think people should rethink about what that means to us and what that means as a religion.
All right, thank you. So that's it from me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama and Lisa Yamamoto. Next, let me introduce the last speaker. Mako Yamada from Keio University will deliver the speech under the title of An Invisible Star to Follow. An Invisible Star to Follow. Mako Yamada, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, honorable judges, questioner, and all of the organizers today. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Anxious, lonely, nervous. These might be feelings you may all feel when stepping into a new environment. The pandemic has created even more walls for us to climb over. Awkward first day of classes through a computer screen, or muffled conversations through transparent board partitions. We have all gone through this, right? Ever since this has become a common denominator in our lives, the demand for therapy has increased and the consumption of self-help books have soared. Basically, we are all looking for that comfortable spot to take a breath. Today, I intend to be your self-help speech by sharing the importance of routine and consistency that helped me, hoping that it'll help you too. I come from a rural town in Gunma Prefecture. I was born there, raised there. My world was basically centered there. I am used to insanely huge supermarkets, unpopulated streets, and the yakimo that I hear every night during the winter while I could see all the constellations that mask the sky. Imagine if this girl suddenly moved to the busiest city in Japan. On September 5th, tiny fragments of my old life were packed in boxes and were carried to a place I now call my new home. College was starting in a few days, and I was more than excited. My dad drove through the Metropolitan Highway as I viewed the concrete jungle from the car window. I played I Spy with my little eyes, green trees, or flat rice fields. I tried so hard to find something that resonated with my hometown. A sudden rush of anxiousness spilled over me. This is my new home. An instant feeling of disbelonging struck. This feeling lasted even as college started, making me doubt myself if I was ever meant to come here in the first place. With most of the classes being online, it was a struggle to make friends. As limited as it was to meet new people, it was necessary for me to keep going, even if it felt like I was caught in a lonely labyrinth in a busy city, unable to escape. After a few months, although a few pieces were missing, I was slowly getting used to my new lifestyle. The key to managing my new life was a new routine. In my new room, new kitchen, and a new route to school, I tried to find consistency that grounded me. A cup of warm water between waking up and washing my face, or the specific turns I would take on my way to school so that the sun would shine on me without the buildings blocking. The very subtle things made me feel like I belonged, and I felt like this because the routines made me feel like I was in control of my own life, even in a completely new environment. Throughout the process of figuring myself out, I noticed that the importance of routine and consistency does not only apply to myself, but also to others. I own a tutoring business, and I have about 10 students that I teach every week. I started this in April 2020 when COVID-19 had just begun to spread and when many schools were closing. So throughout the pandemic, I had the opportunity to see the changes in emotions in those 10 kids. There was this one very bubbly and active 4th grade girl. A few months ago, her mom told me, "My daughter has been feeling unwell recently and she hasn't been going to school." I was shocked. Out of all the students I teach, one of the most energetic students has been sitting at home resisting going to school she used to love. I am no professional, but I somehow knew that she needed help. So I decided to check in with her every week on the same day. At the beginning of class, I would make time to ask her very ordinary things, focusing on what she does every day on her own, like about the book she has been reading or the walks she would go on with her dog. A few months later, her mom texted me again, appreciating the daily check-ins, the weekly check-ins. She told me that her daughter has been feeling a lot better and she gradually wants to go to school again. She then told me that the persistent opportunity to revisit what she did in a week made her daughter realize that she was doing a good job and led her to maintain a similar cycle every week. So in a way, this weekly check-in acted like a journal, created a routine that made her realize that she was navigating her own life. As relief poured through, I superimposed her life and my life. It seems like I have found an answer to the question that I kept asking myself over the past few months. What can we do to move forward when the environment stops us? It was in finding a comfortable routine that makes us feel grounded and stable. A famous behavior science expert, James Clear, says in his famous self-help book, Atomic Habits, "Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are good for making progress." I always thought that to move forward or to make ourselves fit into a new life, we needed to set goals, go out of our way, and actively do things. For example, joining all the extracurriculars that we're interested in, or attending all the parties in fear of missing out. Of course, these intentional processes are meaningful. However, when there are significant changes to adjust to, sometimes that may lead us to become even more lost. In this situation, it is not a matter of productivity or how active we become, but gradual stability achieved by slowly adjusting to the environment with unchanging habits. Following something steady is not equivalent to hiding in your comfort zones, as some may say. When the world seems turbulent and busy, creating a routine that anchors us can be a useful guide for us to step forward. Even if I can't see the stars that take me home like in my hometown, I know I follow my routine and consistency that guides me through my new world. I am confident that you will too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mako Yamada. Then we will have a 4-minute question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
Thank you, Mako, for your very inspiring speech.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama.
Let me ask you a few questions. So, how did you know that having a routine is comfortable for you? Did you try out a few different techniques before you were convinced?
Yes, I actually did. When I moved into my new home, everything was so new to me. So like the direction of going out my room, where everything is in my kitchen was all different. But I realized that everything was all scattered around everywhere, and I couldn't really find what to hold on to during that time. So I couldn't really find that comfort in my new life. So that's when I came up with the idea that I should create this order of what I'm gonna do next for a few couple of months or days so that I know I can guide myself to getting out of the house comfortably in this new place. So I decided to, as I said, a cup of warm water between waking up and washing my face, or specifically cooking on that left side, what do you call that? The heater, and cooking on that certain heater, or the order of all my skincare routines in my new bathroom. All those things actually made me feel pretty comfortable. And that's when I realized that, oh, actually a routine might actually be a really important thing in this new place for me.
Great, thank you. So do you think having a routine is important for everyone, or do you recommend that people would try out different strategies and then decide what works best for them?
It definitely is different between everybody, and if some people has a very nomadic life where they're not really working at one place, they're not really staying at a certain place for a long time, then it may be easier for them to adjust as quickly as possible without finding a routine. But especially us students, when all the schedules are different all the time. We need to go to different classrooms for every semester. Being able to find that comfortable, like, oh, I should do this and do that, go here and go that. So, and that, I think, would bring this peace in our minds a little bit, especially for people who know that aren't moving different places every day.
Right. Let's see. So in your speech, you said having a routine is not hiding in your comfort zone. Can you give us an example of how it's not?
That's a difficult question. But for example, one of the examples that I mentioned in the speech was not going out to parties every night. And for some people, like going out to parties, going out to a social event and meeting new people may be something that makes them ground themselves and find new peers to challenge themselves to get used to their new life, per se. And that people will say that, oh, you're going out of your comfort zones, you're meeting new people every single time. That's something great. But for some people, that would make them a lot more anxious, and that would make them even more left out when something like that doesn't go well. So in those situations, staying at home maybe, journaling, reading a book, doing anything on your own, and being able to find that like consistent place to come back to when you come back home, or even being able to do that while being alone. People are gonna say that, oh, you're just staying in your comfort zones and you're not doing anything impressive. But I think that that's just as impressive as going out and like socializing.
All right, thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama and Mako Yamada. Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to begin the closing ceremony. To begin with, the judges and questioner will give us some comments about today's speeches. Firstly, Dr. Shoko Sasayama, the questioner for this contest, will give us some comments. Dr. Sasayama, please.
Hello, everyone. Is it on? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Wow, what a fascinating experience this has been for me. I really want to thank the organizers for inviting me to be the questioner at this inaugural IIBC Cup. But today, it's not about me, but it's all about you guys. So the speakers, you were fascinating on the stage. Every and each one of you did a great job delivering your speech and answering all my questions, even the difficult ones. So congratulations to you all. Now, the experiences you gained today on the stage and leading up to today would be extremely valuable in the real world. So I want you guys to reflect on your experience today and keep on working on your abilities to communicate your important thoughts and ideas to others in English. To help you do that, there are a few things I want to share with you, especially in relation to the Q&A. So first of all, communication is always a two-way street. So when you interact with others, like you did during the Q&A with me, speaking ability alone is not enough, yeah? So it's also important for you to work on your listening comprehension and communication strategies. So being able to understand the questioner's question right away is ideal, but you may not be able to do that all the time for a variety of reasons. So have a strategy ready in case you don't understand the question. For example, you might want to, for example, help the questioner out by saying something like, let me make sure I understood the question. Then paraphrase the question. Did you mean X, Y, and Z? Of course, this is also true for interacting with people outside of a speech contest. So practicing your speaking, listening, and communication strategies will be extremely valuable in the real world. All right, so second, when you practice Q&A, it's really important to anticipate questions and prepare answers. I've taught many students how to give effective presentations, and we focus quite a bit on Q&A because that's what many students need training on. In my classes, I have my students anticipate questions. I have my students work in pairs and anticipate questions about each other's presentations so that they can have a new perspective on what questions may be asked. It might also be a good idea to go outside of your comfort zone. So why not bring in an outsider to your practice session who would ask random questions about your presentation or about your speech? In fact, in my presentation classes too, I used to bring in an outsider who would ask my students questions, and this made the whole Q&A a lot more realistic, something that my students might do in the real world, and the students learned a lot from this experience. So you might want to think about doing something like that. Okay, so lastly, consider Q&A as your opportunity to elaborate on what you couldn't talk about in your speech and show your expertise. Asking the Q&A, right, can be very scary because you don't know what questions may be asked. But think of it this way. So you only have 8 minutes in your speech to talk about what you feel passionate about. And now with the Q&A, you have 4 extra minutes to talk to the questioner and the audience about the topic that you feel passionate about. So, that kind of mindset, I think, will help you be more confident, and that might even help you enjoy the Q&A a little bit. All right, so that's it from me. Congratulations to you all, and best of luck.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Next, Mr. Dwayne Confer will give us some comments. Mr. Confer, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me first say what an honor it is to be on the same stage that you all were on. What an impressive group of people you are. The poise, the preparation, the passion, everything that you did while you're up here and that you did to earn your way up here is really remarkable. So thank you for the opportunity given to me, and thank you to the organizers for that opportunity to witness this, the champion of champions. I think my first piece of advice is going to listen to everything that Dr. Sasayama just said. That was excellent feedback. And to be quite frank, my own feedback is going to be just more encouraging in general. There were 2 themes that emerged from me from watching you all. The first was just the theme of care. You all, every single speech could be broken down to a speech of care for self, all right, whether it's developing a routine, whether it's learning to inhale confidence and exhale doubt, care for family, care for community, and care for the community at a global scale even. And that's wonderful. The fact that every one of you was focused on making a difference in the world around you, what a wonderful place to begin and what a wonderful thing to do. Please keep that passion and that energy as you move beyond this and out of the classroom. And then the second was just the dedication and the passion that you showed. It was so very obvious that what resulted was, that what we have seen and witnessed today was the result of hours and hours of preparation. The complexity of thought, the complexity of the logic, everything that you did was purposeful and was obviously the result of passion. And so quite frankly, that's all I have to say is keep doing everything that you did to earn your spot up here. It's going to be difficult. Oh, one other thing, take risks. I agree completely. Take risks. It was a risk to be up here. That's courage. And speaking as someone who's lived in Japan for 7 years now and doesn't take the risks that you all have, you have inspired. So thank you for that. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Confer. Next, Mr. Tom Whitson will give us some comments. Mr. Whitson, please.
Well, thank you, everybody, and IBCC for inviting me to be a judge. I'm not as polished a speaker as Dwayne, who is actually the head of the debate. You know, he runs the debate team at his school, or Sasayama-san, who studied linguistics for years and years and years. So I have to use my notes, which I wrote down. First of all, wow. You guys are amazing. I think you should feel really proud of yourselves. I was really amazed when I learned that this is like the 4th or 5th time you've given that same speech. And I was thinking, wow, how did you put so much into it and not fall asleep while you were talking? Because you practiced and practiced and practiced. For me, I don't think I could do it. But you did. And you really put it down there and out there. And I appreciate that because it, obviously kept me awake, I'm happy to see that the speakers are so progressive. You remind me of my children who are very progressive. But I was curious, why do you want to take money away from rich old people and, for social programs? That bothered me a little bit, but I can get over it, and I hear it at home too, so not a problem. One suggestion I would have, you have very good diction, very good pronunciation. You practice that. You listen for that. I would suggest, even if it seems too slow, that you slow down even more, because that will improve your pronunciation, and it will also help the audience to comprehend what you're saying, particularly if you're using Japanese to foreigners or English to, well, Americans. They may not catch fast English, or they may be not native English speakers, so you can slow it down. It's okay. Think of that. Several of you had very good setups and suspense before you reached your key points. I thought that was really good. You kept the interest of the people listening, and that was an effective tool that many of you used, and that was really good. And I learned about easy Japanese today, but I would urge you all to use easy English. You're all highly educated. You studied vocabulary and know maybe as many hard English words as I do, but you don't have to use those difficult words. For communication, simpler is better. Short sentences are better. Active voice, the candle fell off the, was knocked off the mantle. That's not as helpful as the cat knocked the candle off the mantle. That's much straightforward and better. So think about that. Use English, easy English, to have better communication. And then in the Q&A, it may not be true, but a slow response indicates to the listener that you're thinking about what they're saying. It indicates thoughtfulness. You may be able to answer very quickly because it's an easy question, but if you answer too quickly or too fluently, you may be thought to be glib and kind of abrashita, oily-mouthed. And that may not be so good. You can do better by thinking about things and then answering as if you've considered the answer. Okay? That may not be true, but try it. And then I was really impressed that all of you have a burning desire to make Japanese society better. And that's great. Congratulations and best wishes. You all have a really, really bright future ahead of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitson. Lastly, Mr. Keizo Ohashi will give us some comments. Mr. Ohashi, please.
I'm glad to know that our ruthless judges won't score my comments, nor Ms. Sasayama won't give me any tough questions. Well, joking aside, as our prominent judges and questioner have made good comments, I have nothing special to add as a judge in terms of your performance. So taking this opportunity, I'd like to share with you our thoughts as the organizer of this event. IIBC has been providing TOEIC program for over 40 years in Japan. TOEIC program is what our predecessor conceived and was crystallized by E.S.S, the world's largest and not-for-profit testing and measurement organization headquartered in Princeton in New Jersey. A TOEIC program is now used in nearly 160 countries and thus has become the global leader in assessing English communication skills for a workplace and everyday life. But TOEIC program is not the only thing we provide. Our aim is ultimately to cultivate global talent. To this end, we have been providing many things. For the last several years, we have seen dark cloud of deglobalization emerging, stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic and heightened geopolitical risks. But the main theme of the World Economic Forum annual meeting, or more widely known as Davos meeting held last month, was cooperation in a fragmented world. Trade and investments have been merged as an overarching theme at Davos. Singular focus on the least cost model of globalization will hopefully make way for one that caters for labor, inequality, and environmental issues. The recent survey conducted by JBIC, the Japan Bank for International Cooperation, shows a silver lining in this cloud too. More and more Japanese manufacturers have started indicating that they will strengthen and expand their overseas business development in medium terms, even as geopolitical risks increase. For most of them, sustainability, addressing decarbonization or climate change risks, as well as human rights issues, is a very important consideration when operating overseas. So, demand for global human resources is beginning to sprout again, with an emphasis this time on a much higher level of competence. And so is our effort to cultivate global talent. We have been hosting various events, giving students an opportunity to express your opinions in English in the form of contest will suit our purpose, we believe. We have been hosting IIBC English essay contest for high school students for more than a decade. And this year, we are honored to host the first intercollegiate English speech contest here in this venue. To rank your performance as a judge was a very tough job because everybody was excellent. But as the organizer of this event, I'm very happy to see the high quality of the contest, setting good precedents for our future trajectory. In this regard, I would like to express our sincere appreciation for all the efforts and enthusiasms you have put into this contest. And I strongly hope that someday you will be a global leader, active on the international stage by, among other things, continuing to brush up your communication skills. IIBC's tagline is here. You connect people around the world. We are here to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ohashi. Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to move on to the announcement of the winners. Mr. Keizo Ohashi, the president of IIBC, will be awarding the winners. Speakers, when I call your name, please come up to the stage. I would like to announce the third prize winner. The third prize. The third prize goes to Leo Branch from St. Paul's University.
Congratulations. Certificate of award. This is to certify that Mr. Leo Branch has been awarded the third prize at the first intercollegiate English speech contest for the IIBC Cup, held on February 11th, 2023. The Institute for International Business Communication, President Keizo Ohashi.
The third prize winner will receive a certificate and a trophy from IIBC. Congratulations, Leo Branch. Next, I would like to announce the second prize winner. The second prize. The second prize goes to Lisa Yamamoto from Kwansei Gakuin University.
Certificate of award. This is to certify that Ms. Lisa Yamamoto has been awarded the second prize at the first intercollegiate English speech contest for the IIBC Cup, held on February 11th, 2023. The Institute for International Business Communication, President Keizo Ohashi. Congratulations. And this is a small token for you.
The second prize winner receives a certificate and a trophy from IIBC. Congratulations, Lisa Yamamoto. Now, I would like to announce the first prize winner. The first prize. The first prize goes to Mako Yamada from Keio University.
Certificate of award. This is to certify that Ms. Mako Yamada has been awarded the first prize at the first intercollegiate English speech contest for the IIBC Cup, held on February 11th, 2023. The Institute for International Business Communication, President Keizo Ohashi. Congratulations. Whoops. Congratulations.
The first prize winner receives a certificate, a trophy from IIBC, and the IIBC Cup. The first prize winner will also receive a personal computer as a special gift. Congratulations, Mako Yamada. Again, congratulations to the three winners. Also, thank you all the finalists for joining us today. All of you will receive the finalist prize to commemorate today's great work. Congratulations and thank you to all the speakers. Now, I would like to ask Mako Yamada to give us some comments. Mako Yamada, would you please come to the center of the stage?
First off, thank you everybody who organized this event. Thank you, Master of Ceremony. Thank you really very much, judges, and questioner as well. I am actually very surprised that I was able to be in receive such a great place for this competition, because as we all know, we've all practiced the same script so many times. So reading through the script on this stage today, I kind of felt dead throughout the entire 8 minutes. It felt like I didn't have any emotions in myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was dead on the stage today, but it seems like it wasn't so. So I'm very glad. This is probably my last competition this year because I'll be studying abroad starting this summer. So I won't be able to attend any competitions for the summer season. So I'm very honored that I was able to have a nice finish to my public speaking career during my second year of college. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mako Yamada. Now, this concludes the very first intercollegiate English speech contest for the IIBC Cup. We really appreciate all of you here for coming and watching today. We hope to see you again at the second intercollegiate English speech contest for the IIBC Cup. Thank you so much.